I recently made a video about this thing. It's a TEAC CR-310 10-channel communications recorder, and it records onto VHS video cassettes, which is what originally interested me about this device. That actually turned out to be one of my most popular videos I've published to date, so by way of milking that for all it's worth, I thought I'd just do a follow-up video about this device because although it was working in that original video, it wasn't really working very well. The speed was quite irregular, there was loads of flutter on it, and the deck was also struggling to rewind the tape. It seemed to be able to fast forward okay, but when it came to rewinding it was really struggling, so the mechanism clearly needs some attention. And also in that last video I was making test recordings onto a standard VHS tape, whereas these things are really supposed to use S-VHS tapes. So first thing I'm going to do in this video is have a little look at the mechanism, see if we can get that running a bit better. Then I'll try making some new test recordings on an S-VHS tape this time, hopefully using more of the 10 channels, because last time I was only using channels 1 and 2, so hopefully we'll get more of the channels, ideally all of them if I can, sort of in use. We'll do some more tests, and I can hopefully try some of the more advanced features of this unit, such as time searching, which I believe it can do, although I'll have to fish the manual out and see how we do that. As usual, this video has chapter marks, so if you want to skip to a particular test or whatever, then you can use those to jump around the video. But first thing I'll do is open this front panel and we'll have a look, see if we can get at the mechanism, see if we can improve the running of that at all. Right, now I can see what I think are 3 motors in here. This is the real drive motor here. I think this down here is the capstan motor, and this is obviously just the loading motor up here. So probably the one that's irregular is likely to be the capstan motor. That's what's causing all the flutter. So whether that's a belt drive, I don't think that is a belt drive actually. I think that's just a direct drive motor there. So I think if I take this bracket off, I should be able to pull this flywheel out, which I'm guessing will have the capstan on the other side of it. It might be difficult because there's probably a split washer pushed over the capstan, which I might need to remove. So I think I'll just try and remove that and pull the capstan out, see what we can see in there. A magnet in there. So, that doesn't seem to want to shift, but as I say, that's probably because there's a washer on the other end. That's looking a bit dirty, isn't it? I wouldn't have thought that would have caused a problem, but we can try cleaning that a bit. That's that black sort of smut isn't coming off there, is it? Anyway, I don't think that would be causing the problem anyway. Yes, that is spinning the capstan, so if I spin the capstan from this side, that is spinning that flywheel. So, oh yeah, I can see the circlip from the deck side. So just looking at the front side of the deck now, there is the capstan. That's got a little circlip on it, so I'm also going to have to take that circlip off in order to pull the capstan out. So let's try and do that. Actually, I think that's going to be really tricky to get off, and I don't really see much value in doing that, because what am I going to see when I get in there? So I think I'll just have to leave that alone, in which case I can't really see why this thing is running so irregularly. I think the best I can do really is just try and clean this up a bit and see if that helps it, but I don't really think it will somehow, but we'll give it a try. It's going to make any difference at all, but I'll reassemble this side and I'll clean the tape path up a bit more from the front as well, and just hope that that improves it. If it doesn't, I can't really see why it's not running properly.
I love 1984 as much as the next loyal citizen.
Well, as expected, that didn't make any difference at all. I put it all back together and tried it out, and it was just as bad as it was before. Loads of flutter, and it struggled to rewind the tape and so on. I was kind of hoping there'd be a belt or something in there which had obviously stretched, but no such luck. The only belt in there was the loading belt, and we know that's in good order because it's loading fine. The other two motors were just direct drive, so I don't really know why they're not working properly. But since then I've been running the machine. I've left it running. I started it about 6 o'clock, about 1800 hours, so as you can see it's been running now for well over 2 hours, nearly 2.5 hours probably. Just recording a radio broadcast from Radio 4 on channels 1 and 2. And it has improved slightly. The noise level seems to have gone down, but it's still fluttering a bit, although the stability does seem to have improved. So I think that's about as good as we're going to get. So what I'll try now is I'll try recording onto an S-VHS tape, which these things are really designed for, and we'll see what the quality's like. I've taken the front cover off here just because it's nice to be able to see what the tape's doing, I think. And through the magic of editing, I now have the unit hooked up with all 10 channels going to a stack of 5 DVD players, all playing audio CDs, so we have audio coming in on all channels. And they're all working fine. So, channel 5 doesn't appear to be significantly different to any of the others, so I don't quite know why the level was a bit lower when we initially tested it, but of course all the channels are going through a very aggressive automatic gain control anyway, so it's going to smooth it all out anyway. So without further ado, let's get an S-VHS tape, brand new. And I think what I'll do is I'll wind this right to the end and back in a video recorder first, just to make sure it's all nice and free before I stick it in this machine, give it the best chance. And we'll run some more tests, this time using an S-VHS tape. Oh, that's handy. So let's take the standard VHS tape out of there. And replace it with the S-VHS tape. And start recording again. Hopefully we should have audio coming through on all the channels still. Oh, we won't yet because we've got to wait for the tape to pass both heads. There we go. I think maybe it sounds a little brighter, but not a massive difference, is there? But anyway, what I'll do then is I'll try the same track that we used last time on the standard VHS tape, just so we can compare it with the S-VHS recording. Again, the unit will be in record mode, but you're hearing the playback from the tape from the confidence head. So the machine's recording with one head and then playing back from the other head, and that's what you'll be hearing. So although it's recording, you're actually hearing what the playback from the tape would be like. So I'll get the monitor out connector hooked up to a recorder as we did before, and I'll use the same track that we used previously for a direct comparison. I'll get some of that hooked up. I'll leave that running while I get it hooked up. Okay, we're hooked up to a recorder from the monitor out socket, using channels 3 and 4 this time just to mix it up a bit. and I'll play in the same CD music track that I used last time, and then the same spoken word track that I used last time for a direct comparison. So let's just start the recorder going. And we'll play in that music track now, and then I'll play in the spoken word track. So here we go. Unfortunately, I can only let you hear a couple of seconds of the music track because, surprisingly, the quality was actually sufficient for YouTube to be able to content match it. So, sorry about that, but blame YouTube content match.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about the growing number of people who've become economically inactive since the pandemic and the moral mission of reforming welfare to give everyone who can the best possible chance of returning to work. Now, the values of our welfare state are timeless. They're part of our national character of who we are as a country. We're proud to ensure a safety net that is generous to those who genuinely need it and fair to the taxpayers who fund it. We know that there are some with the most severe conditions who will never be able to work, and some who can no longer work because of injury or illness. And they and their loved ones must always have the peace of mind that comes from knowing they will always be supported. But we also have a long-standing and proudly British view that work is a source of dignity, purpose, of hope. The role of the welfare state should
Okay, rather optimistically, I've got the spectrum analyzer set to range of 0 to 10 kilohertz. I've got a 1 kilohertz sine wave at I think 0.02 volts peak to peak going into the communications recorder on channel 5. So if we monitor on channel 5, we get a nice peak here, nice spike at, it's quite noisy, but we get a nice spike at 1 kilohertz. Hopefully you can see that. What I'll do is I'll zoom in on the screen a bit, give you a bit of better view. Right, hopefully you can see that a bit clearer now. So if I say increase this to 2 kilohertz, we'll have to wait a moment while it passes both heads in the recorder. We get a nice spike at 2 kilohertz. Should we go for 3 kilohertz? Ooh, we're just resolving 3 kilohertz, aren't we? So let's knock the frequency span down to 5 kilohertz. There we go, so the top end here is now 5 kilohertz. So let's go up to 3.5 kilohertz. Wait for it to pass both heads. No, nothing. 3.25 kilohertz. Oh, yeah. We're getting a little spike at 3.25 kilohertz. 3.3. No, 3.3. Yes, it's coming through, but it's way down, isn't it? 3.4. Whoops. Not 30.5, 3.4 kilohertz. So yeah, even 3.4 kilohertz is coming through, but it's way down in the noise. Actually, even 3.5 is just making it, isn't it? 3.6. Are we getting some aliasing now? So probably about 3.5 kilohertz is really its upper limit. It's probably a bit lower than that really, because it's probably no useful response above about 3 kilohertz, which is what it's rated at. Of course, the other thing I could try is playing a white noise signal from a CD through the recorder and just watching that on the frequency analyzer. So let's try that next. So I have a white noise CD, which I'm now going to play into the communications recorder. So if I monitor on channels 3 and 4, oh dear, we got a load of hum coming through, and play the CD. I'm getting some kind of response right up to nearly 4 kilohertz, aren't we? I wonder if it's worth trying that same test with a standard VHS tape. Let's try that. I'll swap out the S-VHS tape for the standard VHS tape and see what that does to the frequency plot. A little bit less, isn't it? It's rolling off a bit quicker. Let's go back to the signal generator, which is still generating 3 kilohertz. So yeah, it's a little bit down, isn't it? Okay, let's try the 3 kilohertz with the S-VHS tape again. Yeah, getting a much higher spike, aren't we, at 3 kilohertz on the S-VHS tape. So it does look like it works a lot better with an S-VHS tape, doesn't it? Hope you found that even slightly interesting. Thank you very much. Oh, one other thing. That's the 3 kilohertz tone going directly from the signal generator into the spectrum analyzer. Just up the volts a little bit. 1 volt. Should give us a nicer spike. There we go. So that's the white noise signal directly from the CD player into the spectrum analyzer. In fact, we can put the span back up to 20 kilohertz. We should get the whole range of the CD. There we go, right up to 20 kilohertz. Just one last thing I wanted to try with this unit. It has a time search function whereby it can scan through the tape and find a particular point in time where you know a recording happens to have happened. It can also search for activity as well, so you can scan through presumably whichever channels you are monitoring. It'll search those channels for any activity and then stop the tape. So I won't bother to try that one because we've got all sorts of bits and bobs of material on the tape, haven't we, as we've gone all the way through. But what I can try out is the time search function. Now, as this machine struggles to rewind the tape, what I shall do is eject the tape and rewind it in the video recorder. Then I can try a forward time search to a particular time. So let's give that a try. I'll just pop the tape out. And I'll rewind it in the video recorder. Now, pop that back in there. And hit play. And it should recover the timecode from the tape, in theory. Yep, there we go. So that's the time this recording was made. And we can hear it playing back. That's when I was recording on all 10 channels by the look of it. So if I say go to, what's the date that this was recorded? 23/6/24. So 23/6/24. And let's go to 20... to, let's go to 2200 hours. Right, now, I can't quite remember how you do this. Do you stop? I guess so. Then time search forwards. Yes, and it starts playing at 2200 hours. Unfortunately, I don't think I was actually recording anything at that point. But there we go. That worked fine, didn't it? It would probably work in reverse as well, but as I say, I can't rewind in this deck for some reason. We could try, since there's nothing recorded at this point, shall we try an activity search then, forwards? Yeah, because we're blank at the moment, so if I stop, then I can go activity search, forwards. No, it didn't like that, did it? Activity search, forwards? Perhaps you have to be in play, so let's go back into play. Activity search. Oh, it just goes forwards. Hopefully it'll come to some material in a minute. The thing is, I've just left this running all day, basically. Oh, I can hear that there's material now, but it's not picked up on it, has it? Maybe if it was proper speech that would work, but yeah, it's probably because I was recording music on it. It's not designed for recording music, is it? So probably a speech recording, it may well have picked that up. It's not really a fair test. Probably does work great. Anyway, the time search function works fine, doesn't it? That's really good. So there we are, that's the TEAC CR-310 10-channel communications recorder that records onto S-VHS videotapes. And it can actually use standard VHS videotapes, but doesn't work quite so well with them. It's designed to use S-VHS tapes. Just a couple of other things I wanted to mention before I go. I thought originally that these machines had one dedicated track onto which they recorded the timecode information, but it seems that's not the case. If you look at the brochure, it says that the timecode is striped across the width of the tape, so it's recording presumably in a redundant fashion across all 10, possibly even all 20 tracks, even though this machine only has 10 reserved for audio. It has heads and head amplifiers for all 20 tracks. So I'm guessing it's probably using the full width of the tape for the timecode information, so if it loses potentially some of the tracks during playback, it can still recover the full timecode. Additionally, I believe the machine also must be recording a subaudible pilot tone on each of the audio tracks, and it uses that to raise the channel alarm. If it fails to recover the pilot tone during playback, it'll light the channel alarm light for that channel. Also, if it fails to recover the timecode, it will light the timecode alarm light. Now, all of the channel alarms and the timecode alarm come on if you're playing a blank tape. And finally, just one other little point of trivia. Someone mentioned in the comments on the original video about this device that one of these featured in a Hollywood movie, that movie being The Firm, starring Tom Cruise, released in 1993. Now, at least 3 of these machines, actually the 20-channel versions, can be seen at various points in the film, but most of the time when they appear, they're all powered off. But in one particular scene, one of these machines features very prominently, so here's a clip. I won't play the audio from this clip because that might spoil the film for you if you haven't seen it yet, but the TEAC device is about to come into view here. Here it is. Now, if we freeze frame at this point, you can see that the machine is currently in play mode, and for those that like to make their cinematographic notes, all of the channel alarms and the timecode alarm are all lit, which would suggest that what the machine's actually doing at this point is playing a completely blank tape. And also the timecode shown on there, 15, 21 and 23 seconds, wouldn't tie in with the plot of the film at this point, because the conversation they're supposedly listening to from this machine is supposed to have taken place in the late evening after dark, so that timecode wouldn't tie in either. But there you go. So there we go. Hope you found that interesting. The only other thing I thought of potentially doing with this unit is you could make it into a sort of a rudimentary musical instrument. It would probably work a lot better with a 20-track model, but if you recorded a different note onto each track, by then sort of switching the monitors on and off, you could play a tune on it. And if you had the 20-track model, you could maybe devote some to chord sequences or auto accompaniments or whatever. You could basically make it into a little bit of sort of an octagon, but I'll leave that as an exercise for someone with more musical ability than myself. Thank you very, very much for watching. Really appreciate it.